Hi, my name is Alexis Marin, and I'm here to present my action research project. The action research project that I have decided to conduct is I wanted to see whether or not the impact of small groups focusing on foundational math fluency skills would improve math achievement as measured in math assessments. So basically, the reason that I selected this particular action research was because I noticed that teachers in my school were eliminating the fluency component of math instruction in their daily math instructional block. So I wanted to bring that procedural fluency math component back, and I wanted to see whether or not incorporating daily math fluency in a small group setting would increase student achievement on both the mid and end of module assessments in our math curriculum. So as far as the context of my action research project, it was going to be conducted in my first grade classroom where I have 26 students, and it would occur during the math instructional block. So there's two teachers in my classroom. One teacher would be responsible for teaching students the concept development, and the other teacher would be pulling small groups focusing on foundational fluency skills. So in order to determine the foundational fluency skills, I met with my math curriculum specialist, and we started to brainstorm. So the 5 foundational fluency components that were determined, and each student would be receiving daily instruction for about 10 minutes in the small group. Each small group consisted of about 5 to 6 students, and the groupings were heterogeneous, so students were grouped randomly and not by their mathematical abilities. So after determining the 5 fluency components, that's where I kind of utilized the math curriculum, and I planned out a variety of fluency activities that would be implemented in each fluency group on a daily basis for a period of 1 to 2 weeks based on student mastery. So each of the fluency activities that I had planned were aligned to the fluency component that was being addressed for that specific week. So after planning and brainstorming the initial idea of implementing daily small groups, I really started to think about the impact that it would have on student achievement on math assessments. I also was really eager to see if my students would meet our whole region's math student mastery goals, which were defined as 80% of students would master both the mid and end of module assessments. So that's kind of where I formulated my research question, which was how can I use daily small groups designed to focus on foundational fluency skills in my first grade classroom to improve student achievement measured by an increase on student math assessment scores at my school. So my ultimate goals for this action research were to have both an increase in student mastery of the mid and end of module assessments, as well as have an increase in students scoring either proficient or approaching proficient on both of those assessments. So the setting in which the innovation would be implemented was in my first grade classroom during our math instructional block. Some of the materials that students would be using in the fluency small group would be whiteboards, dry erase markers, linking cubes, and paper-based activities, and those materials were really dependent on just whatever activity the teacher was teaching for that particular day. As far as the limitations of this action research, it really focused primarily on time and sample size. So in order to meet with each small group, it really only leaves about 10 minutes of direct procedural fluency instruction. And because time is very limited, it might not be enough time for students to make significant mathematical gains. Sample size was also a limitation because the sample of first grade students who are receiving this instruction only come from my classroom. So because this isn't a random sample of first grade students, the results of the study might not adhere to the general population of first grade students at my school. One of the biggest assumptions of my action research is that student achievement is going to increase significantly because students are receiving additional mathematical instruction in a small group setting. So it can be assumed that small group instruction can lead to an increase in student mathematics achievement. Another assumption of my action research is attendance. So it's assumed that students attend school every day, therefore they're receiving that small group fluency instruction each day. However, there are many instances when this isn't really the case, and students are either absent, they're taking a buddy break for behavior-related matters, or they're receiving other services during the time that fluency small groups are conducted. So when it comes to the findings of my action research, I'm hoping to find that students will be meeting our region's mastery goals of 80% mastery, as well as I'm hoping to have students make significant mathematical gains on both our end of module and mid-module math assessments. As far as the literature review, so the educational significance of this action research is really to determine whether or not daily small groups designed to focus on fluency will in fact improve student achievement scores on math assessments. So this is where the removal of procedural fluency in daily math instruction can come into play. So I think it's really important to determine the meaning of procedural fluency. And there's many definitions that already exist. However, according to Kling and Bay-Williams study, the Common Core State Standards for Mathematics describes procedural fluency as a skill carrying out procedures flexibly, accurately, efficiently, and appropriately. And procedural fluency is really an extremely important aspect of the math instructional block that really helps prepare students for success in math. According to the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, procedural fluency also builds on that foundation of conceptual understanding, strategic reasoning, and problem solving. So teachers who just teach the conceptual understanding portion of math and the ones who leave out procedural fluency are really not adequately preparing students with a solid foundation to succeed in math. Another study, according to Bowler and Williams, research tells us that students understand more complex functions when they have number sense and deep understanding of numerical principles, not blind memorization or fast recall. So in order for students to develop number sense, it's really important that teachers use a variety of tools to help them achieve this. One aspect that I plan on incorporating in my small groups is the use of math manipulatives. And according to Prothero, the long-term use of mathematics manipulatives is positively related to student achievement and attitudes about mathematics. So students in each of the small groups in my action research will have access to a variety of math manipulatives that will help broaden their number sense in both in a visual and engaging way. The next important aspect of procedural fluency that raises many concerns and questions is how we assess students. So there's many ways you can assess students on procedural fluency, one of those being time tests. However, according to Kling and Bay-Williams study, time tests actually offer little insight about how flexible students are in their use of strategies or even which strategies a student selects. And evidence also suggests that efficiency and accuracy can actually be negatively influenced by time testing. So in the study, a variety of formative assessments were used to assess where students are currently with procedural fluency and how teachers can make adjustments to their instructions to support the needs of their students. So some of the formative assessments used to measure procedural fluency were interviews, observations, journaling, and quizzes. And within my action research, I plan on using interviews, observations, as well as paper-based activities to help me determine the needs of my students and where my students are with basic fact fluency. If I were to change this action research and do it again, one part that I would change would be just the amount of time and the sample size. I would really love to see if I could have all of my teachers, if I could have all of the teachers conduct this action research with me so that we can get a better idea of whether or not procedural fluency small groups can in fact improve student achievement on math assessments across the grade level. Another aspect of this study that I would change would be to just have more time as far as students who receive the fluency instruction every day. I think if I were to have maybe 15 minutes with each small group, then that would make an even bigger difference for my students and their ability to gain, to make mathematical gains. Overall, I'm really curious to see how my students do on the Module 4 mid and end of module assessment as a result of them receiving the direct fluency instruction on a daily basis. So I'm really excited to see how my students perform and whether or not the impact of daily small groups focusing on foundational fluency skills happen to improve math achievement on both mid and end of module assessments. Thank you very much for listening to my action research project, and I'm really excited to further conduct this study. Thank you so much.